with the wonderful people. All right, everybody, we're getting ready to go here with our games for the night, which is going to be Freedom versus SirMalagant. But because SirMalagant is kind of a slacker, I'm going to call him that on stream so that he will be branded for all time. I've got Freedom here, and we're going to do a quick pre-game interview. So say hi.
Hey guys.
For folks who don't know, Freedom is, I guess, kind of like the founder of the league. I think
Yeah,
that's a
it's
reasonable thing.
yeah, I guess so. I mean, we've been around since the Brood War days. It used to be a forum back when there was the red threaded format, and we had a bunch of people playing. We even had one guy that ended up being a pro, and then he quit. I don't know if you guys remember E.G. Louder. He was there.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and it was just a friendly league, and then it ended up being a local group for the Virginia, Maryland, DC area, where you're originally from.
Yes. Well, I mean, not necessarily originally, but I did live in the DC area for about 10 years.
Okay, gotcha. Um, where were you before that? I didn't know that you weren't a local.
Philly.
Oh, I see. That's still that goes much different than the West Coast.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
The East Coast, if it wasn't for the weather, you know?
yeah. Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, and tonight's game is against Sir Malagant. He's a pretty good Protoss player. Um, he knows my style, so even though I'm a league ahead of him usually, still beats me. You can see, our matches are like 60%, 40% I win. He knows exactly what I like to do. And he's very aggressive, and he catches me off of sometimes DT or you know a 10 gate 2 base all in thing. So that's my weakness. I really lose to those kind of things. And in the last game when I lost, that wasn't why I lost. I lost because, as you mentioned, I did a bad base trade. Correct?
Yes, yes, that is very correct. Yeah. So for anybody who didn't watch the previous games, actually, the last set that I cast for this league was actually Freedom versus Malagant. So this is a rematch.
Yes, it's a rematch, and I've been thinking about the game since then. Um, I watched your cast and I didn't realize how much, I thought I was way, way ahead, even at the later stages. So I kind of played around. That's my problem. I stuck on Link too long on that one. But when you're playing a league like what we're doing, where you only have 2 games in reality, every game matters, so you really can't screw around. You gotta go for the win. Correct?
Absolutely. So I mean, do you think like this time going into it, or like do you have a different mindset? Do you think that Sir Malagant is going to have a different mindset?
Yeah, I think he expects. He's not on this call anyway, so he doesn't know what I. But I'm gonna give away a little bit of what I'm gonna do tonight. Um, he usually expects me to go Ling Muta. I'm not doing that at all tonight. What I'm gonna do is Roach Hydra into Vipers.
That's pretty good, especially against Protoss. Vipers in particular, man, they're rough, right? Like, you use the abduct ability, pick off those immortals, those colossus, those high value units, just pull them right in range of your army, snipe them without taking too much damage yourself. So I think that's a pretty potent combination.
Yeah, I like that one because it also means it looks like he's here. It also means if I have a big lead, I won't lose it to a silly I'm stuck in Ling Muta tech. Because Ling Muta isn't really that good. So Roach Hydra is from the beginning to the end. You know, unless he goes Mass Void Rage or something, then I need Infestors. Anyway, we'll see what happens. He's here.
All right, well, I will say goodbye to you for the call then, and we will go ahead and get going with our games.
Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy. Win or lose, we're gonna have fun.
That's what really matters. All right, we're gonna go ahead and try to get this going. Trying to find out the maps. They didn't really warn me first what maps are gonna be playing on, so I'm just gonna pick and unless Okay, we're going to be playing this first game on Frost. I'm going to go ahead and actually switch the stream view so you guys can... I do love my graphic, but you guys will probably want to actually see something a bit more useful here. Make sure, yes, good. Wunderval. Oh, looks like it's actually going to be Derelict Watcher. Let me recreate that. So Freedom has, despite being one of the higher league players, he is actually having he's kind of struggling in the league so far. He's got about a 3-3 record. SirMalagant, I believe, is 8-2. Obviously, you know, Freedom has not played quite as many games, so we'll have to see how this works out. Go ahead and get everybody invited into the game. Should be a lot of fun. I like PVZ. Admittedly, I am a Protoss player, and our 2-base all-ins are really, really strong PVZ, which is why I kind of like it. If you folks at home haven't been watching, there have been some proposed balance changes from Blizzard, which do include things like cheaper Hydra cost, which is frightening to me, but then also like some neat upgrades. Tempest upgrade. Tempest like one-shot spores. They're trying to deal with like the crazy swarm host fun times. Just making sure that stuff is okay. Just making sure no one else wants to hop in the game or obs. Okay, let's see. I don't think they're actually watching the lobby chat, so I'll have to ask him here. Yeah, this should be... Alright, they just need a second for SirMalagant. Some minor mouse adjustments. Actually pretty important. Nothing sucks more than like having your mouse stick or not move the way you want it to. Yeah, so given the current meta, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a like a Phoenix opener, some sort of Stargate play, or the traditional like Gateway expand into like an Immortal all-in, something like that. 2-base all-in from the Protoss player. There's a lot of options right now, especially since the Stargate openers are so strong. Against Freedom, you know, he has indicated that he is going to Roach Hydra into Stormhost, so we'll just have to see how that pans out. It's kind of weird knowing in advance what one of the players is going to go for, but you never know. Plans rarely last very long, so he may abandon it and wind up doing something else pretty quickly. You know, this is again a rematch. SirMalagant defeated Freedom last time, thanks to, I'm going to go ahead and call it a rough base trade from Freedom. That was a little bit unnecessary, but here we go. Oh, a little bit of lag that hopefully is not me. So up here in the top right, we have Freedom as the Zerg player in orange. Down here in the bottom left, we have the green Protoss, SirMalagant. This is going to be a tough one for me. I am a Protoss player myself, so I do tend to root for the Toss. I do like that they've got their custom player clan decal going on there. That's pretty neat. One of the nifty new features of the recent 2.1 patch. So, beginning couple minutes of the game, not a whole lot of super interesting stuff going on at this point. Nothing cheesy from either player, which is excellent, what I like to see. And we're just going to have to kind of wait and see what they start doing, how they want to play this game out. We see a gas first from SirMalagant. That is really, really weird. I don't know what to expect there. Pretty standard pull timing from Freedom. But, I'm going to come back to this. A gas this early really indicates he's got to be teching pretty hard if you're going for gas that fast. I mean, gas before gateway. It's a little risky because he can get units out before... Freedom can get units out before Malagant really have anything to defend. But, this really opens it up to, DTs, early blink play, all kinds of stuff. We do see a pretty quick expansion. Pretty standard by modern standards coming from Freedom as he checks up here, make sure there's no proxy pylons or anything crazy like that coming. Wow, there's a forge coming from SirMalagant now. This is definitely a pretty interesting build coming out here. Normally, with this early simulator, I expected that we would see a second one for a lot of tech, but it doesn't look like he's actually going that way. Could just be a interesting build order choice. Nothing wrong with that. I see a scouting Ling coming out across the map. He is going to see the lack of an expansion so far. That may be, that is about to go down. It should go down hopefully just before that Ling arrives. I think it will. And there you go. There is a Zealot coming on out, so he will be perfectly reasonably well defended. Mothership Core is coming out now as well. Completely standard play. Unfortunately, he didn't hold position as Zealot there, so that Ling did get in the base briefly, but he just kind of killed it off with the probe. Games continue to be normal. Simulator's just now being taken for Freedom, so there's no fast speed or anything incredibly gas-heavy planned. You would have expected to have seen that simulator go down a little bit more quickly if there was. Second gateway coming down. Stalker out, Mothership Core out. It's a reasonably well-defended base. I'm still, kind of curious about this fast forge. I would have expected to see a cannon drop by now with a forge that fast, or an upgrade to already be started. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on it and see what he decides to do. He does seem to be sticking with gateway tech, so I doubt that there's going to be like a fast robo coming or anything like that. Yeah, don't think we're going to see any +1 timings off of this. And everything up in the Zerg camp. There we go. There's that Roach Warren coming down. It looks pretty standard and ordinary. Got the Mothership Core floating across the map. This is an interesting choice. He's doing this so that he can try to snipe this. Unfortunately, it is going to successfully start that. Now, the plus side is, while it would have been really cool to delay and snipe that drone, he does at least now have knowledge of the third timing, which is excellent. If you really wanted to, I actually probably would have spent the energy to throw down the time warp to slow down that drone just enough to get that last shot off and stop it. But that third base is coming down. He's probably going to send this queen over, maybe to send it off, maybe not. But anyway, the Mothership Core just doesn't have enough DPS to stop that. He is trying to snipe some Overlords. The Overlord saw everything, but there wasn't really much to see. That Robo facility is coming down at a reasonable time. Both gases in the main have been taken. I'm actually really surprised that he's doing a fair bit of damage to this. This is not going to be a high health hatchery when it finishes, though there is a queen now starting to come up. He's going to shoo off that Mothership Core. He does have to be careful. It's going to have to take a pretty long path. Yeah, there we go. Going the smart way to get away from it as quickly as possible, not take too much damage. But I mean, that is a, half health hatchery. It's not bad. Of course, it is going to heal up, but you can see a small attack force has arrived. However, I do think that a couple of Roaches and a Queen may prove adequate to deal with this, especially with that second Queen just popped there. We're going to have to see if any time warps come down, or if he's just going to do what damage he can. Yeah, unfortunately, he's unless he recalls out, he's probably just going to lose all of these. He did recall out, kept those units alive, and he does have a forward pylon, but that will probably be spotted and sniped in relatively short order. Pushing out again, trying to chrono boost out. He's got his +1 coming up. He does have some immortals coming out. So his counter will be, or his follow-up will be pretty strong. Of course, a bunch of Roaches showing up at your front door at this stage of the game is never fun. His first immortal's out, but his +1 is not finished yet. Doesn't have a lot of units, and he is tech switching to Stargate, which is actually a pretty good choice against Roaches, but once those Hydras come out, that'll help shut that down pretty well. He does need to watch out, get those pylons out, because he is a little bit supply blocked at the moment, but he should not be for very long. Thankfully, the Roaches kind of came, saw what was up, and Freedom decided to pull back for now. It's a pretty reasonable decision to make. I'm just going to see where it goes. We do have the standard Overlord puking some creep, preventing that third from being taken. But I've got to be honest, you know what, he is going to come clear this out. I was expecting that he was going to push now that his +1 attack has finished. Looks like he's just going to clear out that base, try to take a third. There is a big Roach force coming across the map, however he should have seen it with his observer. So hopefully he will be reasonably prepared. He does have +1 attack, he's got a second immortal out. Phoenix is starting to come out. I don't know at this point in the game that would be the unit of choice for me. I'd probably go Void Rays, just because they deal pretty well with Roaches. But Phoenixes are excellent for Mineral Line harassment. However, you can see he does have some Spore Crawlers out in each of his bases, so the amount of damage he's going to be able to do would be pretty minimal. I really like this posturing that Freedom's doing. He pulls his army out, he makes SirMalagant back up into his base, pokes up a little bit, sees the force, and then just says, you know what, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna keep my army alive, I'm gonna keep powering up, and not push too hard for, what could not be a good fight. He's gonna lose this observer. And, Colossus Tech coming out, I think that's a great choice. If he hadn't gone Stargate, I would say I'd like to see a Twilight Council come down, some Templar Archives for Storm. Storm is really great against Hydras, with the Immortals and Colossus doing so well against the Roaches. But lots of Phoenixes. We'll have to see what he does. I'm not sure if he caught the Hydras, however. Fourth base being taken, which is pretty reasonable. I'm going to check SirMalagant, DC. He has seen the Hydra Den, so he should definitely know that they're out. We'll set that fourth base is being taken, which is excellent for Freedom. And just, kind of stabilizing. SirMalagant has forgotten to rally his workers out of this Nexus, so he does have a couple of probes, just kind of chilling, not doing anything. Unfortunately, that is continuing to build up. He does want to be careful. and get those guys to work as soon as possible. Because, man, I hate that. That sucks when you forget to rally an Nexus. He's going to wonder why his economy is not what he expects it to be. He's going to see all those probes not doing anything. I do like, there we go, he's got the Templar Archives coming down, which is an excellent choice. He is revealing the Phoenixes. Should be good. He can use those, if nothing else, you know, good map presence, clear out Overlords. Never a bad idea. I am a little bit surprised that he has only built a single Colossus. And there we go, there's the Vipers that Freedom talked about building earlier. He does have a pretty big supply lead, and I do like his tech choices. SirMalagant has taken the somewhat difficult strategy of building every possible tech path. I think all he's missing is a fleet beacon. With DTs coming out now. I mean, one behind Dark Shrine, but we'll have to see how much good those are able to do. I do like this little Zealot warp in here up at the top. Unfortunately, actually those are double Spore Crawlers, so that's that could be good. He could clean up that worker line pretty effectively if Freedom isn't paying a whole lot of attention. I mean, there's not a whole lot of probes there yet, but it's pretty good pulling this entire army up. I mean, if nothing else, it killed a couple of workers and delayed some mining time. Now, and actually managed to force a bunch of Spine Crawlers, which is great. We've got Storm coming down, Zealot leg speed, all excellent choices from our Protoss player. That said, you know, he's getting to the point in the game where he is going to need to start, you know, taking some confrontations, taking some battles. You can't just camp on 3 bases forever. 3-base Protoss is pretty good, but not perfect. He is throwing down 2 more Forges, which is an interesting choice. Guess you're going to try to triple upgrade. Which is a ambitious thing to do, but possible. I do like the 4 DTs. I'm a little curious what he's going to do with them. There's a lot of detection here from Freedom, so the DTs are going to have a very hard time pulling anything off. I'm just going to kind of follow these a little bit here. Oh, wow. Well, if nothing else, he may have just revealed them. They weren't hold positioned, and they sniped a Changeling. So yeah, he is triple upgrading, and yeah, he's going to lose both of these DTs. He did just see those Vipers, though, so he should at least be prepared for that. And hopefully, you know, he's going back to Immortals, which is not a terrible choice. He does have Phoenixes out, which, you know, while in general I'm not a huge fan of, you know, if he's smart with them, he uses them to snipe those Vipers. Maybe uses his feedback from his High Templar. He could come out okay. I mean, they're reasonably even in supply. The upgrades are not terrible for SirMalagant, though I do believe Freedom is a little bit ahead. So we'll have to see how these go. We've got giving away a couple of free units, which is not great. He's got to really be careful about those Vipers. You know, Freedom doesn't want to lose them, and SirMalagant doesn't want to lose too much to them, but he is going to have to move out here, or risk just losing the space. I do like the warp in here, hit it from both angles. It's great. He is going to lose that first Colossus pretty quickly there, unfortunately. Throw down some good time warps. He's got some Immortals out. Those Phoenixes are coming in to help clean up those Vipers. I mean, that definitely went in Freedom's favor, but you know, some good storms. That's, I feel like SirMalagant came out okay in that battle. You know, Freedom can remax a little bit faster, and his army's a little bit stronger. Blinding Clouds, really good. But yeah, I mean, that went okay. He's unfortunately, like, this straight up confrontation is not going to go well. needs to keep those gateways chrono boosted so he can keep pumping out units. And of course he has to keep his third alive. If he loses that base, he's going to be in big trouble. Those Phoenixes, unfortunately, are not really doing anything other than soaking up a little bit of damage. Freedom is trying to snipe this Nexus. I don't think he has the DPS to do it down here. So, SirMalagant should be okay. I do like the Stalker warp-in choice, and he does have Colossus coming out. Unfortunately, he's not really watching the front of his base there. He just kind of lost that Immortal for nothing. He did thankfully get that Storm off real quick at the end. Couple good burrow usage here. Gonna try to pick off some workers while continuing to pressure at the front in both bases. Freedom is just really multitasking incredibly well. Yeah, that Colossus really needs to be in this battle as fast as possible, doing damage, but he just lost his entire worker line back here. That's going to be really hard to recover from. Trying to micro this Colossus to keep it alive, doing a pretty good job of it though. And I mean, he's going to push this back, but he is at a huge supply deficit. In the middle of all these battles, Freedom did take yet another base. He's up 5 bases to 3, and I mean, with no mining here, it's really effectively 2 bases. And it's actually even worse than that because the main is mined out, so it's really, a single mining base right now that's also almost mined out. He's going to really have to get those workers up to that third, and try to pick off those roaches if they're still there. I can't actually tell. Yeah, those roaches are still there. He's got to watch out. Otherwise, they're just going to pick off all these workers all over again. Which I expect we'll be seeing here momentarily. Now, the DT warp-in, excellent. He is going to snipe this base. It's a great move, help put him at least a little bit back in the game. He's not going to be able to pick this one off. There's just too many spore crawlers. But that actually was great. And yeah, there are a bunch of Overseers warping in because he did lose a lot of his detection there. Does look like SirMalagant is going to attempt to start taking his 4th base. Which is good, he does need it. He's going to have a very hard time keeping his economy going if he does not. I do like the combination of not only was there the Overlord, there's also still a Ling burrowed there, which is going to be an absolute nightmare to take care of. What's also really good is he's using his vision and his knowledge to move his army. He knows exactly where SirMalagant is, and he's going to come and try to just crush this army. And honestly, 80 supply difference basically right now. That would be a very tough fight. And man, that little Ling is worth his weight in gold right now. There's no detection from SirMalagant that I'm aware of, and he's building an Immortal. He's not building an Observer right now, so unless he throws down a cannon or something, he's kind of stuck. There is a little push coming here. Oh, I lied. There you go. Small attack down here at the south. A bunch of DTs up here. He could actually re-snipe that, but unfortunately, well, he might, since he does control that watchtower, he might see this counterattack coming. I think he does. He's going to try to pull back, but it's not going to be fast enough. He'd have to Photon Overcharge immediately, but he's not going to. Some good storms to help defend, and he's actually got a couple of good free hits on those Vipers. He picked one off completely, for free, basically. Freedom, I think, was not paying enough attention, just miscontrolled a little bit. I'm really surprised we haven't seen the Nexus Cannon coming into play here. Because he's popping these out, trying to snipe some more workers. Nexus Cannon does finally go down. He did finally pick this off. He really needs to take that expansion, but he is broke as broke can be. This is going to make it really, really hard. Especially since we see Freedom coming down here, trying to snipe this actually non-existent 4th base, but it is going to deny it for some additional time, which is time that SirMalagant cannot afford right now. I do like that his choice of, since he is cash strapped, warping in some Archons, another burrow. Oh man, that's going to be killer. Really needs to build an observer and get that out there with his army, so he can pick off some of these things. Freedom is getting a ton of mileage out of that burrow, and he's just pulling further and further ahead as this game continues. DT is coming back up to harass this base again. I love it. This is great. He's just going to snipe all of these. Unfortunately, there is going to be this little roach push at the front. Hopefully, he does get that photon overcharge off again to keep that alive. He is going to successfully snipe this base, however, and hopefully get his DTs out. No, unfortunately, he is just going to lose them. But he keeps denying that base, so it's well worth it. Oh, he's going to lose this Nexus. Unfortunately, oh man, some clutch DTs. He's getting his money's worth out of those DTs. That is for sure. That's basically all that kept that base alive. But that was fantastic. And there's reasonably likely to be an engagement here. This is actually really good. The Vipers are out of position. SirMalagant picked off a lot of units there. I do think he might be a little bit overbold, though, engaging up by this base where the army is reasonably well fortified. Spore crawlers, spine crawlers, and the entire army there. We're going to have to see how this goes. Some good storms. Unfortunately, man, those Vipers just destroyed basically all of the Colossus immediately with some really good abducts. And he's just going to move the army in, pick off that last Colossus, and I think that's going to be probably the game. SirMalagant just... there's a 90 supply deficit at this point. It'd be extremely difficult for him to recover, especially without a really mining additional base. He's mining off of one base at this point. And Freedom's just going to go down here and deny this base again. Honestly, SirMalagant can barely afford to throw that base down, even if he wanted to. At this point, Freedom could probably just A-move, eliminate it. I do like, man, this continued DT harassment is doing really, really well. Unfortunately, though, it's money that SirMalagant can't afford to spend, can't afford to lose at this point in the game. And Freedom has 1, 2, 3 mining bases with a 4th potential mining base against the single, almost mined out base for SirMalagant. 100 supply lead. This is going to be a very tough game. He needs to land some storms immediately. Unfortunately, his High Templar just all got picked off immediately, and the photon overcharge is just not going to be enough to save him. No money to warp in units to help keep him alive. And that is game number 1. Freedom taking the win over SirMalagant. Okay, switch us back here to our lovely screen of nothingness, where I did not give Freedom enough ease. Don't remember if these were best of 1 or best of 3. So I'm just going to double check on this, see if we've got another match coming. Okay, well... I think we're going to call that the game. So we'll probably resume with another stream in something like an hour, maybe. I'm gonna check in. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump off. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, and I will hopefully see you all later.